All right, guys, what is up? Coach Cheryl here with FitBodySecrets, here to bring you guys some inspiration, education, and motivation, and all the tips you need to be successful on your fitness journey. And I am going to be honest, I am coming off of an amazing day at Wadapalooza, but I am extremely tired. I think I fell asleep around 12:30, and my circadian rhythm, I am up every day between the hours of like 4:45 and 5:30-ish, pretty much around the clock. So I've been up, I've been working, and long story short, I also have decreased my caffeine intake a lot. So I typically will do one shot of espresso and then two shots of decaf espresso. And this morning I realized I had no more decaf espresso. And I'm like, Cheryl, so I had to like get up and like had to go to Starbucks and get a coffee there, which was good. It was good. It was just I definitely feel like I'm a little bit tired today, but also really wanted to get this podcast episode out. So bear with me if I am stumbling a little bit today. I am gonna be honest, I am tired. Does not mean I'm not without energy, because I always have all the energy in the world. It just might not be physically there. It might be mentally there, not physically there. And if you did get to go out to Wadapalooza, I hope you had an amazing time. The event is always awesome. There's a whole other day going on today. So if you didn't get a chance to go out there and you want to go out there today, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for you guys to get to see a lot of amazing things. So without further ado, let's kind of shift into the topic of the day, which is going to be breaking down a little bit on artificial sweeteners, sugar, more importantly about artificial sweeteners, but talking a little bit about sugar as well. I think that it's very common that I think we all know that there are foods that we should be eating less of and foods that we should be eating more of. But I think that a lot of people can get really hard on themselves when they do want to enjoy something, specifically like they might have decided to have an extra treat at night. And now all of a sudden they're like, oh, I feel so guilty. I don't want to track that, or I shouldn't have eaten that. And it just puts them into this spiraling of believing that they're doing something wrong if they have sugar because they feel like sugar is bad. And the truth is, sugar isn't really bad. It's everything in moderation in reality. But that can become a slippery slope because everybody's moderation also looks different. So today's episode, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an understanding about artificial sweeteners and their role in our diets if you are going to use them, along with getting you guys to understand a little bit about the downsides and also the not so downsides of enjoying some sugar here and there. So you guys can get a little bit of an education on the things that you obviously want to be able to incorporate. Coming off of the holiday season, a lot of people likely had a little bit more sugar than they're used to. And come the beginning of the year, they were also likely trying to cut a lot of that sugar out. So today is all about helping you guys out, because obviously there's a reason why we're talking about sugar today. It's not something that we don't all enjoy. Most people do enjoy sweets. And I often start by talking about, I made a recent episode talking about food addictions, and I brought up sugar as an addiction. And I think people really think that they're like addicted to sugar. They can't stop eating sugar. And in reality, that's not really the truth. It's the foods that are combined of those like sweets and the textures, and they're considered like the hyper palatable foods. Those foods that have a combination of carbs and fats, and they're baked or they're cold. They just cause a lot of other things to kind of come together and create this amazing taste. And that's not necessarily a wrong thing to enjoy that, but you have to have some self-discipline and self-control. So this is where artificial sweeteners have kind of come into play for a lot of people. And so I'm going to pull up my notes here because, like my metabolism episode and the things that have a little bit more contextual data behind them, I wanted to make sure that I have those things up for me to kind of keep myself organized for you guys. So artificial sweeteners, most importantly, I think that they've gotten a really bad rap. I think that a lot of people tend to not really understand where they come from, and how they are used and what they were originally designed for. And there's just so much misinformation out there from people from different social media groups, different, health marketing stuff, where people can get this misconception is that maybe they should be avoiding them, or, they're going to cause cancer, or maybe they should be eating more of them. It's why are they selling these things if they're so bad for us, right? And so I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that today. So first off, let's talk a little bit about what artificials are. So there are multiple types of artificial sweeteners, and that's the number one thing I want you guys to get an understanding of, is that I'm already stumbling, that there are different types of artificial sweeteners out there, and they're not all created equal. They're all derived of different chemicals. But what an artificial sweetener essentially is, it's a synthetic sugar substitute that are far sweeter than regular sugar. So that allows us to use much less of them to sweeten something. They also do not provide us any calories, so it can be actually a great way for people to get the taste of sweetness without actually getting the negative effects of having too many excess calories from it, which is where it came into a play for a lot of the people out there trying to lose weight. They're like, man, I really want to have a Coca-Cola, but there's like 150 calories in that can. So I'm going to drink Diet Coke instead because there's 0 calories in that. And I can kind of get something that's similar to what I want. And so there's, like I mentioned, there's a bunch of different types of artificial sweeteners. Some of the ones that you guys are going to be more familiar with are Equal, which is the brand name of aspartame, sucralose, the brand name of that is Splenda, saccharin, the brand name of that is Sweet and Low. Then you've got Ace K, and then you've also got a newer of this sugar sweeteners, which is going to be stevia, which is actually not really a chemical sweetener. It is actually a plant-based sweetener, so more of a I want to consider that more in the realm of sugar alcohols, which I'm going to go into in a second, but not necessarily an actual chemical made one. Now they do have to process it, so it is still obviously manufactured, man-made, but it does come from a derivative of a natural source. And then, like I said, you have sugar alcohols as well, which are other ways that we can sweeten things for less calories. However, sugar alcohols do have some calories and carbohydrates. These are actually derived from typical plants and fruit sources. And so they do obviously have less sugar in them, and they are usually, much more sweet than your typical table sugar. So we can use much less of them, but they do still have a slight effect on our blood sugar, and they do have some calories. And that's kind of going into that is I want you guys to understand that there's, like I said, there's going to be so many different things you're going to hear about out there. And what I'm giving you guys today in terms of what I'm talking about, in terms of the things that I see that a lot of people don't really understand, is that the information I'm presenting you guys with today are from peer-reviewed third-party studies, people that have done the research. They have actually, controlled studies on these things. So we are actually getting data that is actually something that you can actually support with evidence. We're not just talking about, Joe Schmo out there promoting that you shouldn't be eating, sugar alcohols because they cause XYZ to happen to him, without actually having any real controlled studies to know that was it really the sugar alcohols or the artificial sweeteners, or was it something else going on that was just correlated to that time in his life. So I want you to know that what I'm presenting you guys with today does have a lot of research studies back to it. And I'm not going to go ahead and cite all of those in there because I'm going to be honest, guys, I like doing my podcast for fun. If you guys want the sites, I will send them to you, but I'm not going to take the extra time of putting them all on my podcast episode because that's just not as much fun to me as actually just talking about it with you guys. But if you want them, I will gladly send you all of them because I have all of them. Okay. So let's talk about some of the different myths around artificial sweeteners in particular. And once again, I'm going to start by saying all of these artificial sweeteners are not the same, but most of these studies that I'm talking about were done on the ones that I'm mentioning today. So know that all of them are tested in different studies as well, but these ones have primarily been, these artificial sweeteners that I'm talking about have been researched and studied in these studies that I'm talking about today. So let's talk first and foremost about the main one. And I'm going to scroll down because I actually put this one last. Let's talk about cancer. Okay. I think that a lot of people, the biggest one you hear about artificial sweeteners is that artificial sweeteners cause cancer. And that if we're taking them in, we're actually taking in carcinogens, which was why the topic of my, or the title of my episode today was Fight Sugar Cravings, Lose Body Fat with Carcinogens, because a lot of people think that artificial sweeteners are going to cause them to get cancer. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And this is probably one of the oldest studied things that I want to debunk today, because it's one of the main reasons why people avoid them. You are more likely to get cancer in your life from stress, from sugar, from poor type of cooking. So using, improper cooking methods like burning your meats, being exposed to too much plastics and environmental things. Like there are so many other ways to get cancer that artificial sweeteners are likely not going to be the biggest problem out there. In fact, I started thinking about this today, is most people have friends or family members that have had cancer. Cancer is a very common thing in our common world, our day-to-day world. How many of those people do you know that says, I got cancer from artificial sweeteners? Because I can't tell you one person that I know that was like, I was drinking too many artificial sweeteners. That's why they think I got cancer. I hear people that smoked. I know of people that had genetic predispositions with breast cancer. other things, but I've not really ever heard anybody talking about artificial sweeteners being the cause of their cancer. So just a little thing for you guys to think about today. So let's go into this one about cancer. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit first, and then I'm going to talk about it. So since the 1970s, debate about whether there is a link between artificial sweeteners and cancer risk has raged. It was ignited when animal studies found an increased risk of bladder cancer in mice fed extremely high amounts of saccharin and cyclamate. So cyclamate, and I'm probably saying that wrong, is an artificial sweetener that they did use back in the early 1970s that has been banned because it was proven to actually have negative effects and could actually cause cancer. It is no longer approved by the FDA for human consumption. So we don't use that anymore. However, these studies actually showed that the kind of going into the research of it. I apologize. I meant to shut that off. My client check-ins are coming in. So kind of going back into the study that I was talking about is, all right, so however, mice metabolize saccharin differently than humans. Since then, more than 30 human studies have found no link between artificial sweeteners and the risk of developing cancer. One such study followed 9,000 participants for 13 years and analyzed their artificial sweetener intake. 13 years they did this study for. After accounting for other factors, the researchers found no link between artificial sweeteners and the risk of developing various types of cancer. Furthermore, a recent review of studies published over an 11-year period did not find a link between cancer risk and artificial sweetener consumption. This topic was also evaluated by US and European regulatory authorities. Both agreed that artificial sweeteners, when consumed in recommended amounts, do not increase cancer risk. One exception is cyclamate, which was banned for use in the United States after the original mouse bladder study was published in 1970. Since then, extensive studies in animals have failed to show cancer link. However, cyclamate was never reapproved for use in the United States. So what I'm basically going over there is that originally they did some studies on the lab test or on rats. They found some links to bladder cancer. They then conducted studies on humans. For 13 years, they followed these humans taking in these artificial sweeteners, and nothing happened to them based on the artificial sweeteners that they were ingesting. Now, the second piece of this is it mentioned in there based on the recommended dosage. And I don't know that I actually wrote this in my notes, but I do have it pulled up somewhere, is the actual amount. So if I remember correctly, I believe where you would be even walking into, let me just make sure I have it pulled up. So basically I think I closed it already. So I think the number was you would have to drink 800 cans of diet soda a day to even touch the minimum that you would need to be able to be considered somewhat toxic to you. So realizing that nobody is drinking that many cans of soda a day. Nobody. You can't drink that many cans of soda a day. So what I'm telling you is the chances of developing cancer from having a diet soda a day, putting some stevia in your coffee is so slim to none that you're fine to do that. And I'm going to talk about where this can help some of you guys out there shortly after, but I wanted to talk about the cancer one first because that's a big one. And I get it because cancer is scary. It's very common nowadays. Like I said, you can walk into a room and out of 20 people, everybody in there has either had cancer or knows somebody has had cancer. It's very, very common now. All right, that was a long one. Let's talk a little bit now about and we're going to go into the more meaty ones, like obviously about the weight gain and the appetite and all that stuff. But I want to go into the ones that are a little bit more further down the line, the more health related ones first. All right, so bear with me. Next one is effects on metabolic syndrome. So what is metabolic syndrome? Metabolic syndrome is a cluster of medical conditions that includes things like high blood pressure, high blood sugar, excess belly fat, high cholesterol levels, and all of these different things that make us more prone to chronic disease, things like stroke, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and all of those types of things. Some people had said that there was a link between artificial sweeteners and whether it had a factor in these people developing this metabolic syndrome. Since then, they have realized that actually people that were ingesting diet sodas, artificial sweeteners, and things like that actually saw a decrease in the amount of weight they had, their amount of belly fat. It actually had a decrease in lower cholesterol levels, decrease in lower blood sugar levels, and all of these positives from taking an artificial sweeteners that has actually been debunked. Now, I'm going to go into where this kind of likely is also, you have to realize correlation is that these people are also probably limiting their intake of sugars and things like that by switching those things out, which we're going to go into where it plays a factor in those of you guys out there trying to lose weight. But likelihood it wasn't the actual ingestion of the artificial sweeteners that caused the decrease in these symptoms. It was likely the removal of the things that they were replacing them with. So, but there is no actual link to artificial sweeteners and metabolic syndrome. Let's talk about gut health. Okay, gut health is a big buzzword now. Everybody's trying to optimize gut health. We know there's a link to gut health and how our mental cognition is and how we feel throughout our day and our hormones and all these things. And there was obviously studies done on how does artificial sweeteners affect our gut health. A lot of people can admit to or can relate to when they take in artificial sweeteners, they might have diarrhea or they notice constipation. They see changes in their digestive system, which signal people to do some studies on why do these artificial sweeteners cause GI distress. And people had thought that, okay, well, is our gut bacteria being affected by the types of artificial sweeteners we're taking in? And the truth is, when it comes to the gut, they are still in the earliest stages of testing out how artificial sweeteners affect our gut bacteria health, our gut microbiome. However, there is also research to suspect that some artificial sweeteners actually improve gut health by killing off some of the bad bacteria and actually helping feed some of the good bacteria. So what I'm going to tell you guys about gut health when it comes to artificial sweeteners is that the research on it is still too new. There is no negative downsides associated with ingestion of artificial sweeteners on overall health and gut balance of bacteria to be found just yet, but we need more studies to actually confirm that. Like they haven't actually found anything yet, but the research is still too new. So, and I'm going to go into my advice, which I'll just tell you right now is listen to your gut. So if your gut's not happy with something, you probably shouldn't be having it. If it's causing you a lot of GI distress, you might want to find a different. Now, once again, not all our artificial sweeteners are created equal. So you might want to play around with a different artificial sweetener. Okay. All right. So now we're going to kind of get into blood sugar, which is another one. And then we're going to get into our effects on weight and appetite and all that kind of stuff, which is the meaty stuff that I know you guys want to hear more about. Okay, let's talk about blood sugar. So those with diabetes may benefit from choosing artificial sweeteners as they offer a sweet taste without accompanying rise in blood sugars. However, some studies report that drinking diet soda is associated with a 6 to 120% greater risk of developing diabetes. That is a huge fucking range, by the way, 6 to 121%. Okay. They may seem contradictory, but it is important to note that all of the studies were observational. They didn't prove that artificial sweeteners cause diabetes, only that people likely to develop type 2 diabetes also like to drink diet soda. So it's not saying that because they drank diet soda, they got diabetes. They're seeing an associating with type 2 diabetes and drinking diet soda. So what came first, the chicken or the eggs? Are the people drinking diet soda because they're trying to avoid high blood sugar? Likely so. On the other hand, many control studies show that artificial sweeteners do not affect blood sugar or insulin levels. Thus far, only one small study was projected in Hispanic women found a negative effect. They did a test where basically they had some Hispanic women drink an artificially sweetened beverage before consuming a sugary beverage. God damn it, I should have turned that off. I'm going to just shut it down really quick. It's going to keep distracting me if they're coming up. I can't find. So the other problem is, guys, let me just tell you, I have like 5 fucking Google windows open on my computer screen, and I can't even figure out which one that is dinging from. Can you guys relate to that? Like you have so much going on. You have 5 million Google Forms open. All right, there we go. Close it down. Little tangent. But they did find that the women that ingested the artificial sweeteners before drinking the sugary beverage did have a slightly higher effect on their blood sugar rather than those that just drank water beforehand. It's not saying that that was necessarily what caused it, but they are still doing some studies to see if there's different populations, different ethnicities that maybe have different responses to the ingestion of artificial sweeteners. But once again, still too new. We need more research to talk about this kinds of stuff. All right, take a sip of my coffee that I literally had to go get more coffee for. Anyways, I still can't believe that happened to me. Anyways, but all right. So let's talk about what you guys really want to know about. All right, which is Cheryl. I was told that if I drink artificial sweeteners, it's going to cause me to overeat, or it's going to cause me more cravings, or it's going to cause me, it's going to, cause my, whatever. I'm going to gain weight from taking an artificial sweeteners. Those are the things that you guys really want to know about. I know that. Obviously, we all care about our health. We all care about, are we going to get cancer? Are we going to have bad, blood sugar regulation? But when it comes down to it all, it's like, we typically are more worried about like, okay, I don't want to be drinking something that's going to make me want to overconsume things if I'm trying to be in a calorie deficit, right? And we don't want to be increasing our belly fat by taking in these toxins. So this is what you guys really want to know about. And that's why I kind of saved it for last. I got to get through the boring stuff first, because the boring stuff is, believe it or not, very relative and correlated and all that kind of stuff to what I'm talking about today, which is the effects on our weight and our appetite, and whether or not you should or should not be taking in artificial sweeteners. All right. So here we go. Let's talk about the effects on appetite. And this is where I'm going to start to get into my passion place, because I honestly, I don't want to be like, I love artificial sweeteners, but I think that artificial sweeteners are a great way for people to learn how to consume less calories and still feel like they're getting a treat every day. So let's talk about their effects on appetite and what studies show. The idea is that artificial sweeteners may be unable to activate the food reward pathway needed to make you feel satisfied after you eat. So basically what they're saying is that whenever you ingest artificial sweeteners, you're getting the sweet taste, but you're not getting the satiation factor. So given that they taste sweet, but they lack the calories found in other sweetened foods, they're thought to confuse the brain into feeling more hungry, which is going to make you want to eat more of them or eat more sugar. It's even been suggested that sweeteners may cause cravings for sugary foods. That said, many recent studies do not support the idea that artificial sweeteners increase hunger or calorie intake. In fact, several studies have found that participants report less hunger and consume fewer calories when they replace sugary foods and beverages with artificially sweetened alternatives. So let's just talk about this. Let's break this one down first and foremost. Do artificial sweeteners increase your appetite or increase your cravings for sugary foods? All right. Do they increase your hunger as well? Well, first and foremost, all right, let's talk about what you're actually looking for when you're reaching for an artificially sweetened beverage or treat. All right. Are you actually hungry, meaning you need calories, or are you having a craving or a desire to eat something sweet? All right. So if I'm in a calorie deficit and it's 4 o'clock and I haven't eaten since 12 and I'm actually hungry, like physically hungry, I probably should be fitting in a snack. All right. If I'm getting a craving at that time, and if I'm having a craving and it's after I just had a satisfying meal, I probably could have something that might give me a lower calorie alternative to fit that craving and still feel satiated. However, this is where you have to figure out, is it hunger or is it a craving or is it both? All right. And you want to kind of play to what you need, because what science is showing you, what evidence is showing, is that research studies have found that replacing sugary foods or drinks with artificially sweet ones may actually reduce hunger and calorie intake. Because, all right, if I really want something sweet, maybe I do want a Mountain Dew, okay, and I choose the diet Mountain Dew over, okay, maybe I'm not satisfied on one Mountain Dew. But if I have another one, does that still mean that I've had more calories than if I had the one Mountain Dew? Nope. In fact, I've still had 0 calories, maybe like a smidgen of calories. Okay. So when it comes to craving more, all right, I don't think it's going to cause you to crave more. If you decide to have a second soda, a second diet soda, it's also not going to set you back. Whereas if I have the real soda, I'm now down 150 to 200 calories. Likely, I'm still hungry, which, by the way, having the diet soda, I'm probably still going to be hungry if I'm hungry, which is going to make me end up eating more calories. Whereas if I'm like, you know what, I'm hungry, but I also want something sweet, I'm going to feed my hunger with something that I know my body needs. I need protein. I need something that's going to be voluminous. I need some veggies. I need those things. I'm going to get what I need, but I'm also going to have what I want for 0 calories. So this might look like maybe you really want a fizzy drink with your lunch. So you have a nice healthy lunch, nice salad. You got a nice whole grain pita with your salad, and you decide, I'm going to wash it down with a nice diet Dr. Pepper. Or if you're like me, A&W 0 sugar, which is goat. All right. So you've got that food you need, but you got that little bit of something that's going to give you that craving beater that you want. Okay. That is going to save you calories. So when it comes to appetite regulation, you have to understand, like, are you feeding a craving? Are you feeding hunger, or are you feeding both? Okay. In between meals, when you're having a craving, it can save you calories by choosing the lower calorie option, which is going to be likely something sweetened with artificial sweeteners. Saving calories in your coffee by using sugar-free varieties. I love the Jordan skinny syrups. And by the way, TJ Maxx, biggest hack. You go there, you get all of them for super cheap, and you can stock up on all the seasonal flavors. They probably have some Valentine's Day flavors out there now. I'll probably go out there today and give it a check out. So know that this appetite regulation is not affected by artificial sweeteners. What likely is happening is if you find yourself craving something after having an artificial sweetened beverage or something that's lower in calories, is that you actually might be actually hungry, and that's not actually getting you full. It's feeding the craving, but not the hunger. Okay, so you got to realize that they're not the same thing. Okay, let's talk about effects on weight, which is a big one. All right. So when it comes to weight control, some observation studies report a link between consuming artificially sweetened beverage and obesity. However, randomized controlled studies, the gold standard in scientific research, report that artificial sweeteners may reduce body weight, fat mass, and waist circumference. These studies also show that replacing sugary soft drinks with sugar-free versions can decrease body mass index. What's more, choosing an artificially sweetened beverage instead of those with added sugars may reduce foods instead of those with added sugars may reduce the number of total daily calories consumed. Well, duh. Hello, people. Come on, let's go. Various studies ranging from 4 weeks to 40 months show that this may lead to weight loss of up to 2.9 pounds. Artificially sweetened drinks can be an easy alternative for those of you regularly consuming soft drinks and want to decrease their sugar consumption. However, opting for diet soda will not lead to any weight loss if you compensate by eating larger portions of sweets. I fucking love this shit. Okay, so I'm very passionate about this because this is probably one of the biggest questions I get. So what all this is saying right here is that, okay, when we take in artificial sweeteners, we are likely replacing something that's sweetened with sugar with something that's artificially sweetened. So we're saving calories. So when it comes to our effect on weight, when we know that a calorie deficit is how we lose weight, why would it make sense that replacing a high calorie drink or beverage or food with a lower calorie option would cause you to gain weight? Okay, that is not the case. The cool thing about this is likely if you're somebody like me who likes to eat volume and you're eating like a less calorie option of something, you can usually eat twice as much of it. So you get more satiated on less calories. All right. Most people can't eat the serving size of a sugar sweetened food or drink anyways. They usually consume 2 or 3 times that because you want more of it. The small little taste isn't enough. So by replacing those things with lower calorie varieties, AKA sweetened with artificial sweeteners, might actually help you lose weight because now you're going to feel more satiated eating more of those things, and you're going to be saving calories in the long run. So it all ends up helping you lose weight. Now, this is not saying that artificial sweeteners cause weight loss, okay? Other thing to realize is, as I mentioned in the last sentence, opting for diet soda will not lead to any weight loss if you compensate by eating larger portions of excess sweets. This is where the fucking people that tell you guys that weight gain comes from artificial sweeteners is wrong, because I worked at Burger King when I was 16 years old. Do you know how many people would come through my drive-thru and they would order the king size Whopper meal with double cheese and extra mayo and a king size French fry with a fucking super size, king size Diet Coke? What the fuck, right? Excuse my language, all right? It was like, okay, you're going to have all of those calories, but you're going to have the Diet Coke too, okay? Now, was that person doing something wrong? No, because obviously if they opted for the regular drink, they're going to get a whole nother 1,000 calories, right? But the problem is that association of this person drinking diet soda and being obese is causing people to get this conception or this misconception that artificial sweeteners are leading to obesity. No, it's because these people are making excuses. Well, since I'm getting the diet soda, I can get the king size French fry. No, it doesn't work that way. You got to control calories. Calories have got to be controlled. You cannot gain weight in a calorie deficit. You cannot gain weight eating at calorie maintenance. You gain weight when you're eating in a calorie surplus. Okay? The diet drinks is not to blame. If you are looking to make positive changes in your life and you crave sweet things and you like those flavors, it is okay to find replacements of them that are 0 calories. And guess what? Now you're getting what you want and what you need, less calories and the sweetness factor. So don't get hung up in what studies are showing you in terms of, oh, well, I'm going to gain weight or belly fat if I'm taking in these artificial sweeteners. It's not the case. Okay. So this is the main purpose of this, because what I want you guys to understand is I'm not telling you pro or against artificial sweeteners. I want you guys out there to know that are like, I really struggle because I like sweet foods. I like, enjoying some treats here and there. And I tend to always gravitate towards XYZ foods. You can find replacements for those things that actually have less calories in them and will allow you to feel more satiated. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're not going to cause cancer to your body. You're not going to have some kind of metabolic issues. You're not going to have increased blood sugar. You're not going to have crazy appetite cravings. Okay. All of those things are not problems associated with artificial sweeteners. They are usually problems linked to other things that artificial sweeteners have become the scapegoat for because they're often consumed in conjunction with other lifestyle factors. So here is my take on artificial sweeteners. Now that I've spent the last 30 minutes talking about them, all right, is when it comes to artificial sweeteners, not all are created equal, and you're not going to like the taste of all of them. I don't like Equal myself. I don't like Equal. I don't like Sweet and Low. I just never have. I like Diet Coke. Never did it for me. Even as a kid, I couldn't drink Diet Coke. I don't mind Splenda. I like the Zevias, which is sweetened with stevia. Like I said, I like sucralose flavored things. Those things don't bother me at all. And I have no problem with my gut. I've never had any problems with my gut. When it comes to sensitivities, food sensitivities, some people do have some food sensitivities to specific sweeteners where they have almost like an allergy reaction to them. And I hear about this from people with specific protein powders. Like there's certain, like the Ace K is a big one. Some people might have an allergy to that and they have to avoid it. That is a true thing, but that's just like any food sensitivity. Some people have sensitivities to freaking eggs, or onions. Like it's the same thing, just some people are more sensitive than others. So you have to figure out which ones work best for your body and which ones you like the taste of. When it comes to controlling calorie intake, listen, guys, they can be your best friend, because if you want sweets and you want less calories, like I can have one little small inch of a piece of chocolate cake, or I can make one myself using some sugar-free options and make it lower calorie. And guess what? I save calories and I have what I wanted to have, a sweet tooth, while I'm trying to cut calories back. So they can actually really play to your advantage when you are trying to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight and you do have a lot of cravings for sweets. There are a ton of products out there. You have to experiment with them. So that was the two main things. It's like, one is you have to know which ones you like the best, which ones sit well in your stomach best. Two, that they can be a great way for you guys to decrease calorie intake from those sweetened things without feeling guilty. This episode is going to go long. I got so much to talk about, okay? Because now I'm going to flip a switch, all right? Because I know there's a lot of you guys out there that are listening to this. They're probably still not convinced that you should or should not be doing artificial sweeteners. I'm not telling you should or you shouldn't. I'm telling you use it at your own discretion. But here's what I'm going to also tell you guys is let's talk about sugar now, okay? So when we talk about where sugar artificial sweeteners come in, it's to replace sugar, all right? And as I mentioned in the beginning, that a lot of people have a lot of guilt about eating sugar. And you shouldn't, but sugar does have negative impacts and has been studied to show negative impacts on our health, our body composition, and all those things. So if there's a definite, you can know this, okay, between artificial sweeteners and sugar, all right? If you're taking in sugar, you are actually going to be more likely to develop a lot of those issues than if you're taking in the artificial sweeteners, okay? So if you want to avoid one or the other, you're better off avoiding added sugar. This even comes from raw sugar. Okay, so you're getting the sugars in the raw. You're getting the, special crystallized, whatever fucking special sugar you're buying. Okay, the special agave syrups. Okay, sugar is fucking sugar. By the way, all food ends up getting digested into sugar, but we'll talk about that in another episode when I talk about carbohydrates. But when it comes to some negative effects of taking in sugar, okay, so talking about what you should be reducing is, yes, your sugar intake. Let's just go over to my quick notes. And I didn't make a whole bunch of notes on this, but let's just talk about some of the actual studied health effects, negative health effects of having too much sugar. Weight gain. Obviously, sugar is high in calories and often easy to overconsume. Okay, so the fructose also is linked to issues with liver conditions. Not to mention, it can cause leptin resistance, which is going to make you have higher hunger cravings and make it hard for you to stop eating. Talk about other conditions, heart disease. It also is linked to inflammation, high triglycerides, high blood sugar, all these different factors which are going to affect your overall health. is actually linked to acne. So there's actually been studies that show that refined carbohydrates, including sugary foods and drinks, can actually be associated with a higher development of skin conditions because of its higher glycemic index. It can increase your risk for type 2 diabetes, which I think a lot of people know about. It can actually increase your risk of cancer. Okay, so talk about what causes cancer. Sugar will likely cause cancer faster than artificial sweeteners because sugar is proven to cause more inflammation. It is proven to cause insulin resistance. It is proven to do a lot of things like increasing your body fat if we're taking too much calories in from sugar, which is going to likely make you more prone to developing cancer. Okay, so all bad things coming from eating too much sugar. How about your increased risk for depression because of its effect on the neurotransmitter dopamine and serotonin? Okay, how about the increased risk of skin aging? Okay, talk about those of you guys out there that are, I got to drink my collagen protein. Okay, why not decrease your sugar intake? Talk about cellular aging. Okay, talk about how it drains your energy. Talk about how it leads to fatty liver disease. Okay, kidney issues, dental health, gout, cognitive decline. There's so many negative effects of taking in sugar, but this is not to demonize sugar because it is okay to have some sugar in your diet. It is okay to have some artificial sweeteners in your diet. Okay. Everything in life is about moderation. Well, Cheryl, how much sugar is too much sugar? All right. First of all, let's not focus on what MyFitnessPal tells you that you're over your sugar intake for the day. When it comes to figuring out how much sugar you should be taking in a day, I always like people to focus on two things: how much added sugar is being added to their diet, and also what percentage of their overall calorie intake and their overall carbohydrate intake comes from sugar, and how much fiber are they getting in their diet. Those three things matter. Okay. So in my opinion, sugar intake should make up less than 10%, added sugar intake, less than 10% of your overall carbohydrate budget. Okay. So that means if your carb budget is 100 grams, you should be getting in less than 10 grams of added sugar. 200 grams, about 20 grams of added sugar. Added sugar, okay? Upwards of that goes higher. And I would honestly say it should actually be somewhere between 10 and 20%, because the other thing that factors this is what kind of output are you putting in the gym? If you are training high intensity volume, CrossFit, bodybuilding, really trying to put on muscle, you're hitting the gym hard, post-workout sugar intake has been actually shown to help increase our recovery and actually help with the anabolic process of building muscle. So having sugar at the right times might be okay, but it should still make up, and I'm going to say less than 20% of your overall carb intake. That is going to allow you to spare carbohydrates for fiber, for other nutrient-dense carbohydrates. If all of your carbohydrates are coming from sugar, then you're not getting in enough of the other things, and you're probably over-consuming sugar in a ratio. Everything should be in a ratio. Just like our macros, we have a ratio of carbs, fats, and proteins. The same thing with your sugar intake. Okay. So when it comes to how much sugar you should be taking in, look at your overall calorie budget and look at how many carbohydrates you're taking in. If your carb budget is 150 grams and you see like you're at 75 to 90 grams of sugar every single day, you're likely getting a little bit too much sugar. I would try and decrease that. You're also going to likely find that people that overconsume sugar and they're trying to limit carbohydrates are also likely seeing that they are getting more hunger and cravings because sugar isn't very satiating. Those foods tend to make you still hungry. So all things that I wanted you guys to factor into when it comes to looking at sugar versus artificial sweeteners. Like I said, this episode was going to go a little bit long, but it actually perked me up a little bit. Maybe that or my coffee, because I was like zombie mode before I started this episode. So let me just take a look at the comments. I saw a couple people posting there. Is stevia or is erythritol listed as the first ingredient a red flag? It's good for making the morning coffee. Okay, awesome. Okay, so Damien, in stevia, is erythritol listed as the first ingredient a red flag? Not necessarily, but what it means is that if erythritol is listed first, there is more erythritol than there is stevia in the product. So erythritol is a sugar alcohol. I forget what it's derived from, but that does have some carbohydrate in it and a little bit of calories. Stevia has 0 carbohydrates, 0 calories. So that just means that erythritol is the primary ingredient. That goes for all food labels. When you guys are looking at food labels, the ingredients first on the list are what's in more on that product. And as you go down the line, the less is where they have less of. So it's not necessarily a red flag, Damien. It just means that there's more erythritol than there is stevia. The best form of stevia that I found is that I actually is tolerable, Damien. I'll tag you in this is at Damien Think. I don't even know if that tagged you in it. But the Sweet Drops stevia, it's not the actual, there's two kinds. There's kinds that come in a squeeze bottle, and there's kinds that come in a glass bottle. The Sweet Drop stevia, they have different flavors, vanilla, coffee, hazelnut. That is primarily just stevia in the glass bottle. The other ones does have erythritol. Most of your powdered sweeteners are going to be a combination of an aspartame, a sucralose, and some type of a sugar alcohol because it helps act as a binder and it gives it the substance. It helps them create the actual crystals. So, but the liquids are usually going to be less of that stuff. So that would be another thing for you guys to look at. And in terms of making your morning coffee tolerable, guys, I'm going to be honest. I love my morning coffee. So I do almond milk, unsweetened vanilla almond milk. I'll do about half a cup of that. I'll use whatever flavor of Jordan skinny syrup I have on hand, and I will add my coffee to it, use my milk frother, get a nice little latte foam on top, and I'll add a little bit of fat-free whipped cream for a little extra sweetness because I'm going to be honest, I like dessert coffee. And if I can make that enjoyable for me in my morning, what's wrong with that? It has like less than 40 calories. And that's super helpful. Damien, any other questions, please pop them up in the chat. Like I love having people on here. Anybody else that's on too as well, if you guys have questions about sugar, artificial sweeteners, or anything else in particular, like this is open forum. So I don't mind answering a couple of questions while I'm on, if you guys are on. And hopefully this episode was helpful for you guys out there because I know that it's a lot to talk about and there is so much misinformation, not just on artificial sweeteners, but a lot of things. Just join the Psychopath Cup Club. Black coffee. I don't like black coffee. Oh, well, Kenneth, I'm going to tell you this. Okay. I was at Wadapalooza yesterday and I had my first, is it the Paper Street coffee that Savan endorses or is sponsored by for his podcast, Paper Street or whatever it is. I had coffee from there and I could have drinking that straight black. I don't drink black coffee. I was like, this coffee is so good. Like I'm going to order some today. I really enjoyed that coffee and I never had it before. And I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of like not super bougie about my coffee, but I think it's because I haven't really had good coffee in a while. And I was like, oh my God, this coffee is amazing. So, but yeah, so I could go off on a tangent about coffee too, by the way, guys. I love my coffee. So that's what I got today, guys. Aspartame, sugar sweeteners, sugar alcohols, all that stuff. Gabe from Paper Street I definitely have to reach out to him. I would love to get some sponsors for my podcast, but honestly, I feel like I have a little imposter syndrome because I just like doing this for fun. And I like to talk about, nutrition, but I probably should start to reach out some sponsors. That's all I got today, guys. I mean, if anybody else has any more questions to pop up about artificial sweeteners that you want to know about, what I recommend, I have some products that I like. I personally, so some of the things that I use that are artificially sweetened is I like the Lily's dark chocolate chips. I keep them in my freezer when I'm having a sweet treat or a sweet craving. I can have a tablespoon of those. They are made with chicory root fiber, which is a different type of artificial sweetener. It's a inulin fiber, which is sweet. Chicory root fiber is naturally sweet. This is one of those sugar alcohols, but it can help curb a sweet craving. As I mentioned, I love my A&W zero sugar goat, and I like Diet Sunkist. But like I said, I try and watch my caffeine intake, and Sunkist does have a little bit of caffeine in it. I mentioned the skinny syrups in my coffees. I like there's a brand of cookies I like called Alyssa's Oatmeal Bites. I should probably get sponsored by them too. And they are made with some different types of sugar alcohols, I believe. Those are all things. By the way, the Edie's, I believe it's their slow churn vanilla, I think might have some sugar alcohols and artificial sweeteners in it as well, but that's probably one of the better of the diet ice creams out there. It's funny, guys. I haven't had Halo Top in over probably 6 months. I had kind of, when inflation hit and like fucking prices were going through the roof, I stopped buying it. And I had a pint still in my freezer. And a couple of days ago, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have the Halo Top. And I was like, oh, I lost my flavor. I lost my taste for it. I did not like it at all. So I'm going to stick with my smoothie bowls that I make. But obviously a lot of those ice creams are flavored with artificial sweeteners. Some yogurts. I like the Chobani Zero Sugar. I believe that's sweetened with stevia. That's pretty much it though. I mean, anytime I'm really Crystal Light, I put Crystal Light in my water. Those of you guys that are trying to drink more water, this is a great way to get more water in. Sweeten your water. Like, it's okay. Like, you're going to get more water. You're going to get more hydration. It's okay to have a little bit of the artificial sweeteners. Honey or just maple syrup and coffee ain't too bad too. But once again, Kenneth, totally fine. And I don't know what your specific goals are. Primarily for people that are looking for less calorie dense ways to incorporate sweets into their diet to keep them accountable to keeping in a calorie deficit. Replacing some of those things with lower calorie options can save some calories because it's easy to drink calories and not feel full. So the main purpose was really getting people to understand it's okay to have some of those artificial sweeteners because it can help save you calories for actual food. So like, I can easily take the sugar out of my coffee to zero out the calories and take those 100 calories and have a slice of toast. Skinny Cat ice cream sandwiches are awesome, but I believe that they actually are not made with any artificial sweeteners. I'm pretty sure they are not. I could be wrong, but I think that they actually don't make, I think they do have real sugar in them, which is fine. But that's also, no worries, Kenneth, man. I'm here. So, but did want to kind of open this up to anything else. Do you guys have any other nutrition questions? Anything I can answer CrossFit wise? No? Can I share with you guys my own personal reflections before I hang up, since you guys are watching? Guys, I've been doing CrossFit since 2010, the earlier 2010. And I wasn't even going to talk about this today. I probably should, but I feel like I got some fans on here. I hope you guys are fans. I hope you guys get value out of what I talk about. And I was at Wadapalooza yesterday, and I needed that more than anything. I'm going to cry. Oh, it's because I'm tired, I know. I have seen myself at my best. And as you shift your life to, God, why am I getting upset? This is a good episode, and here I am getting upset. You shift your life to start to look at other ways to, create impact. Because, my life has never been one where I'm like, I've never really wanted to have a life that's built around like me being, it's all about me, I guess, right? I've always been someone that's been a giver in my life. I kind of knew that growing up as a kid, I was going to be in the service industry. I've always served, and every job I've ever had, I've always been a serving person. Whether it was, like I said, my first job at Burger King, which that's pretty funny, right? That I ended up being a nutrition coach. Whether it was, worked at, theme parks, making kids happy, whether it was being a vet tech, whether it was in the health and fitness world, whatever I've done, I've always been a servant. And, I've really shifted my life to, when I was at my best in CrossFit, my whole life really just revolved around competing. I mean, everything I did was to optimize my ability to perform in every session. And it wasn't always optimal because I did in my head still value other people. I was never a CrossFit coach that could show up at 5 o'clock in the morning and not give the best fucking class. I have conviction, like full confidence that when I gave a class, whether it was 5 o'clock in the morning or 7:30 at night, those people had all of me. And, and I get feedback from clients all the time that reach out to me that had me as a coach years ago and say like, oh, like I remember your classes, like that is something that is so impactful. Right. So I really had shifted my life in a lot of ways to have that, but I would always like take a nap before training. And, like I had time, like I had more time between things. And as I started growing my own business and wanting to impact more people, I didn't have that time anymore. And it's not nobody's fault. It's me. I want to do that. I want to help more people, but it started to become like, oh, whatever, training's going to be what it is. Like training's going to be what it is. And over like, the past couple of years, I keep setting these goals for myself. Like, oh, I'm going to do so much better this year because I'm going to really focus on X, Y, Z. But I never let myself do that because I don't trust, right? I also have this love for creating impact. And anyways, I just like realize that it's okay to have both and know that my greater gift in this world is always going to be to serve other people. But being at Wadapalooza yesterday made me realize, God, Cheryl, like you missed that. Like, I know you're so busy, Cheryl, but like, it's okay to give yourself an opportunity to experience that again. And I'm 37 years old, but I also believe in myself. Like I believe in my fitness. I believe in what I'm capable of. I know that I'm not taking care of myself. I know that I'm letting my business and my people become my whole purpose in life, and letting Cheryl kind of realize, oh, whatever. And it just, I want to be out there. I want to be inspirational to you guys as a coach, but also be able to be like, damn, I got a badass coach. She's still hitting it hard in the gym, and she still got it. And right now I'm like, I fucking got it. Like, if you guys saw some of my training sessions lately, I mean, we all struggle, and I'm definitely very fit. I definitely have fitness. But right now I've let myself be complacent, and I'm injured, and I don't talk about that a lot. I got some injuries, and because I don't like to be like, oh, my shoulder, this, blah, blah, blah. I just fucking hate doing that. Like, I feel like whatever. But I really want to see what this year can do for me, and not for the goal of like, you know, winning anything. I mean, I want to win. I want to win a lot of things, but to just find my purpose in for myself, like my hobby, my love for that again. I miss the CrossFit community, and I miss, like I talked to one of my friends yesterday about how, like, I remembered, I'm going off on a tangent, guys. I'm sorry. I remembered, being up at CrossFit New England, and I was talking to him about how, like, God, I ran into Heather Bergeron, and I'm like, those are some of the best years of my life, because I made so many friends, throwing down with Katrin. Like, I just have so many memories that I just wish I could make more of. I don't want that to be done for me. And I want to see it shift into something different as I grow older. So I guess I just wanted to open up a little bit about that somewhat. But anyways, I know this is no longer talking about fat loss and carcinogens. And I appreciate, Damien, that you liked my post. Anyways, I'm going to get off here because I'm getting emotional as I'm thinking about things that have been kind of depressing right now in my life. And get ready for my 11 o'clock AMRAP challenge. If you are in my AMRAP challenge, start with a new frame here. Oh, Craig. Okay, here's the problem is my favorite movements in CrossFit are likely thrusters and pull-ups. And right now, here's where I'm at in life, is anything that I know that I'm really good at, I'm like fucking like in my head about. I don't want to like go there. Like, I'm the girl right now in the gym that's like I'll beat people by being fit, not by pushing hard. Like, I'm just fit right now, and that's great. But I'm like, I don't want to put that pressure on myself, and I need to get back to put that pressure on myself. So I appreciate that, Craig. Guys, if you guys have anything else to add, I need you all. I'm going to be honest right now. I'm calling on you guys. Coach needs a coach. I need people that believe in me again, because I think back to when I was at my best. Like, I felt really good, and I'm getting emotional. What was so different? I fucking had community. I had support. I had other people around that were like supporting me, and I don't have that. Like, I don't, because I've kind of built my life in a way that allows me to be very flexible with my training so that I can serve others. And I love that. I fucking love it. But I do have to get back to finding support systems. And so I'm probably going to be calling on my IG crew a lot more. So stay tuned. But sorry this went off on a tangent, guys. I'm in a good place. I'm in a good place talking to you all. If you guys are heading out to Wadapalooza today, have an amazing time. Stay fucking warm. It is cold out there. And I will talk to you guys all on Tuesday when I bring out my Fit Body shorts. If you guys have any podcast topics that you guys want, you guys can also post them in the show notes for me as well. I would love to obviously give you guys more value on what you actually want. And if you're not in my AMRAP challenge and you want to see what it's all about, you can also join my Facebook group, because today I am going live in my Facebook group with today's meeting, so that they can also get some value out of it as well. So talk to y'all soon. Bye.